Alright, section 4.2 is graphing quadritics in vertex and intercept form. This is very similar to the last section with graphing, just a couple of minor differences. We'll look at the first example will be y equals negative 1/4 and x plus 2 squared plus 5. Okay, this is in vertex form, and if you'll notice from previous chapters, it looks a lot like absolute value form. And the reason why it's called vertex form is because it tells you what your vertex is. Okay, the vertex is just the opposite of the number inside, which will be negative 2, and then the number on the outside just comes down 5. So you don't have to go through the formula of negative b over 2a. This tells you that your vertex is negative 2, 5. Okay, so if you blot that point at negative 2, 5, you also know that this is your axis of symmetry. That's the only new thing to this problem. Everything else is the exact same. Okay, you pick a point, you pick 2 points to the left or to the right. Okay, so I'm going to choose the point negative 1 and 0. So take the formula from above. So clear out from the last problem here. Negative 1/4, and that negative 1/4 is still going to tell you that my graph is going to be an N shape because it's negative. And then x, which we're plugging in, negative 1 plus 2 squared plus 5, which gives me 4.75, which is okay. And hit second enter, change that negative 1 to a 0, and you get 4. So that's my 2 points. Negative 1, 4.75, so 1, 2, 3, 4.75 is about right there. And then 0, 4, just right here. You're going to do the same thing on both sides. And again, my graph is not drawn to scale, but it is going to be an N shape that looks something similar to this. Okay, that is vertex form, fairly simple, nothing is supposed to be hard about that. The second type of example is intercept form, and again, this one not too bad. So we'll look at the example y equals 2 and x plus 3 times x minus 1. So this one is an intercept form, and if you follow the steps of this, it's the same every time. Similar to the last problem, you're going to take the opposite of these two numbers. Okay, so opposite of 3 is negative 3, opposite of negative 1 is positive 1, and the reason why it's called intercept form is because we're going to plot those on the x-intercept. So at negative 3 we're plotting a point, and at positive 1 we're plotting a point. So unlike all the other graphs that we've had, this one does not tell you vertex. You've got to find that on your own. And here's the way you do it. You take this number, which is negative 3, add it to this number, which is 1, and then divide by 2. And this is going to tell you the distance directly in the middle of those 2 points. That's going to tell you your axis of symmetry. So negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So my axis of symmetry is at negative 1. And it should look like that's directly in the middle of these 2 points. If you were to kind of take your 2 pins and kind of follow your finger in, go in1, and it meets directly in the middle. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work out perfect. That's why you need to have the formula. So just like the previous parts, the vertex is your axis of symmetry plugged into your function. So get your calculator, and let's type it in. 2, and it's positive. That means we know it's going to be opening up. It's going to be a U-shaped. Negative 1 plus 3, and then negative 1 minus 1, which is negative 8. So down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about right here, and make your U shape as best as possible. That's your graph. The very last thing in this section is stuff that we should know how to do, somewhat algebra-based type stuff, and it's taking something that's in intercept and vertex form and putting it into standard form. So we'll look at two examples. First example, let's say we had y equals 3 and then x plus 4 squared minus 6. We want to take this and put it into standard form. Okay, so we need to pretty much simplify what we have. So if we take this 3, bring it down, and expand this x plus 4 squared to just x plus 4 times x plus 4, we'll be able to FOIL this and simplify. So if we FOIL, x times x is x squared, x times 4 is 4x, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 4 is 16. Simplify inside parentheses. 4x plus 4x is 8x. So now in the order of operations we have multiplication. So 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 8x is 24x. And then 3 times 16 is going to get you 48. The minus 6 comes down still. And finally we can combine those two terms. And you have vertex form switched into standard form. Okay, all that should be somewhat Algebra 1 style review. The other type, real quick, is taking something in intercept form and putting it into standard form. So very similar, we have y equals negative 3, x minus 1 times x plus 3. So this time we don't have to expand anything, we just start off doing the FOIL method. So x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, negative 1 times x is negative 1x, negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Again, simplify inside parentheses, you get 2x, because 3 minus 1 is 2. And last but not least, multiply. Negative 3 times x squared, negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. That is section 4.2.